After just about a month, the judge has approved the sale of General Motors' strongest assets to a newly formed company, a major step toward leaving Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Here's how it breaks down. The U.S. government, you, the taxpayer, will own about 61% of General Motors. The unions will own 17.5%. The Canadian government will own 11.7%. And the old General Motors will own the remaining 10%. The company will be made up of Chevrolet, Cadillac, Buick, and GMC, and a minority stake in General Motors Europe. But aren't there serious problems in handling such a giant bankruptcy in such a short time? Here's Tom Woods, the author of Meltdown, a free market look at why the stock market collapsed, the economy tanked, and government bailouts will only make things worse. He joins me by phone. And Steve Jakubowski, an attorney with the Coleman Law Firm. He's appealing, thank God someone is, the General Motors ruling. Tom, to you first. The General Motors bankruptcy is one of the largest in American history. It took 4 weeks. There was no testimony whatsoever in court. And yet the taxpayer is on the hook for $50 billion without a vote by the Congress, but because the president and a single federal judge have said so. What is going on here?
Well, this is one piece in a huge puzzle that involves a whole lot of things the government has been doing that are unprecedented and have been done essentially without any meaningful debate. So we had this idiotic stimulus package. We've had cap and trade. We're nationalizing the banks. We're bailing everybody out. We're taking over Fannie and Freddie. I mean, how much debate was there on any of this stuff? How much debate is there about what the Federal Reserve is doing, creating trillions of dollars out of thin air? We got creditor rights being overturned, the desirability of investing in America being reduced. And this is, as I say, all being done, as you say, Judge, with basically no debate. Now, Japan did pretty much all these sorts of things and have been doing these things for close to 20 years now, and their economy just contracted at an annualized rate of about 15%, which is pretty much Banana Republic territory.
Right.
So what we're seeing is not so much, just a goodwill attempt to fix the economy. I think what we're seeing is what happens when thugs and ignoramuses try to grab whatever crumbs they can from an economy that they and their friends at the Federal Reserve wrecked.
Steve, you are a lawyer. You represent a good number of people who have been injured or who say they have been injured by General Motors products. Do they still have lawsuits against the new General Motors as a result of this bankruptcy, or have their rights been wiped out?
Well, Judge, the clients that I represent are only 5. I think that they represent a number of other people who are similarly situated, and these are basically people who have existing lawsuits. A number of them have been severely injured. One's a quadriplegic. One lost his son in the accident and lost limbs of his own. And so, these are people who have real serious injuries on the basis of defects that are known to have existed. These are people also who have claims that arose.
Steve, are there many other people out there, maybe in the thousands, who have causes of action for their own bodily injury against General Motors, who will not see a judge or a jury as a result of this bankruptcy?
Well, not if my appeal is successful, but otherwise the answer to that is yes. And there are about 1,000 cases out there right now, and there are a number of others that are injured who could bring cases. You're talking about probably about $500 million worth of liabilities.
Tom, the president and his folks, the automobile czar, the car czar, have the following mantra: people ahead of profits. Do they understand the first thing about the government operating a for-profit business?
Well, a lot of people have this crazy slogan of people before profits. You see it on their bumper stickers and so on, but it shows they have no idea what profit means. If there's high profit in an industry, it means that industry or that firm is producing something the general public wants. If there are losses, it means the opposite. The profits entice more capital to go in and expand in that arena. So it's the profit and loss mechanism that puts our productive structure at the service of the people. There's no distinction between profits and people. It's what the people want that yields the profit and encourages business to expand there. Now, the alternative to this system is not some utopia in which we're all skipping through meadows all day, but the alternative is a system that puts bureaucrats before people, that makes business decisions not according to what people want, but according to what some creep like Barney Frank wants.
All right, let me stop you for a minute, Tom. I think you have said in print and elsewhere that General Motors loses a couple of $1,000s per car, that when they shut down and don't operate at all, they stop losing money. Now, if they lose a few $1,000s per car, how can the government possibly expect that somehow, some way, someday, they will earn enough profit to pay back the $50 billion of taxpayer dollars that are about to be given to them?
Well, they'll never be able to pay it back is the answer. And on top of that, we've got this little proletarian mobile that it looks like the administration wants them to build. I mean, this really is like living in a George Orwell novel. But no, they'll never be able to pay it back. And the result is going to be, this is just going to become a fixture of American life. And in fact, I think a lot of Americans have already moved on as if, yeah, well, it's too bad, but I guess there's nothing we can do about it. That's the feeling I think they want all of us to have, the dreary inevitability of the whole thing and the total helplessness of the voting public.
Steve, your clients, as I understand it, come from all walks of life. These are innocent, injured people. They were injured because what you say are either manufacturing or design defects in General Motors automobiles. Did you raise these claims before a bankruptcy judge? And if you did, how are those claims treated?
Well, the claims are treated like every other claim in a bankruptcy case. The real issue that I'm facing is whether or not under state law, or especially under bankruptcy law, whether Congress intended for the bankruptcy sale provisions to wipe out the claims of my clients against successors under theories of successor liability.
All right, so if you can't go after the new General Motors in behalf of all of these innocent, injured people, and you're forced to go after what remains of the old General Motors, you'll just be going after a shell with no assets from which a jury could order a verdict in favor of your clients.
Yeah, that's effectively right. The claims are expected to receive about 10 cents on the dollar.
Tom, I suppose
that...
Go ahead, Steve.
Well, the key, I think, is that, you've got basically the same company producing the same products with the same management, the same employees, the same brand, the same slogans, the same advertising. And it's basically a successor. In about half the states, about a half of the population in this country, the state law gives these people the right to go against a successor under those state laws if, in fact, they're operating the business just the way the old business operated.
But under the ruling by this federal bankruptcy judge, your clients would be left out in the cold. Tom, is this as inevitable as the Chrysler bankruptcy was, in your opinion?
Looks that way. And as I say, it is extremely troubling to me that the general public, unfortunately, I think is so demoralized. Even people who want to fight against this, they feel like apparently our input doesn't count for anything. This regime is going to do what it wants, and we have to do whatever we possibly can to fight it. I mean, everybody's got a role to play in the great division of labor of fighting against this. Whether it's educating yourself, educating other people, organizing,
right?
Reading LouRockwell.com, joining Ron Paul's Campaign for Liberty,
or discussing it as we're doing now. Tom Woods and Steve Jakubowski, thanks very much for joining.